Hi everyone, and welcome to our virtual chat today. We are pivoting our Park Life program to deliver you a series of online content to help support the LGBTIQ community right now. Lockdown is really tough, and we wanted to be able to deliver some sort of health and fitness and interesting people. Our interesting person for today's our Together Tuesdays launch is Hayden. Hayden works for Monash Council and has agreed to come and speak to us today in our lunchtime session. So before we get started, I would like to acknowledge the lands in which we meet today and the lands in which you might be listening in. I'm on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I would like to pay my respects to elders past, present or emerging who might be tuning in today, and do pay my respects. Hayden, thank you so much for joining us. How are you going in lockdown?
Yeah, it's a question of the day, isn't it? A question of the year, of the month, of the decade, whatever it is. Yeah, it's rinse and repeat over here at Monash Council. I guess the beauty of being in lockdown multiple times is you've had time to iron out the wrinkles, so to speak, and you just pick up the framework that you created and established in the first extended lockdown and just put it back in place.
Yeah, that's right. I'm definitely finding, I don't know about you, but my walking path, I'm really committed to doing the same one. And I'm not sure if that's some sort of psychological thing that I need some sort of control in my life. So what's your sort of thing that gets you through the week at the moment that maybe you look forward to?
Well, I don't know, I'm not sure if I look forward to, but my partner introduced me to yoga. I've been a yoga person. I'm a group fitness instructor by heart. I do high energy. I just naturally have high energy. So for me to have to bring it down, it's an effort. So he's actually introduced me to yoga, and I do enjoy it after the fact. We do it every morning before I start work, and it kind of just like gets you limber and gets the blood flowing. It's pretty good.
Oh, that's great. I love it when people try something that's just completely different to what they're used to doing. And yeah, breathing in yoga, I definitely forget to do that part of it. And I'm sort of like, is this how you're supposed to do it?
Yeah. Power pose the whole way through.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, let's go through a bit of an introduction. So for people that might not have met you, can you please, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about, I guess, your personal journey into the job that you have now and what you do for Monash?
Yeah, so my name's Hayden. My full name is Hayden Hyman. I work for the City of Monash, and I have been with Monash for a decade of my life, so 10 years. Prior to that, I'll give you a brief overview of my history. I am of the rainbow community. I'm a gay man. I grew up on a farm in rural outback New South Wales, so Broken Hill, that's where I'm originally from. I am your atypical farmer mechanics lad. I played rugby. I was that guy for a while. I migrated to Melbourne in 2005 after finish my first uni degree in human movement in 2003 as kind of like a hiatus of doing nothing. At the same time of finishing my degree, I also did my apprenticeship as a chef. So I am a chef as well. I obviously don't commercially cook anymore, but I'm deviating from my story. So fast forward to 2010, after doing almost, I don't even know how many years I was working as a chef. I decided to do something about my human movement degree, and I entered into the fitness industry, specifically Monash City Council as a full-time PT. So I was one of the PTs and group fitness instructors way back in the day who was flying that flag solo over at Monash. Luckily, we have a lot of movement now and a lot of people on the platform. In 2013, I entered into the leadership team. I started off as the health club leader, as well as interim stints as department manager, several different department managers roles, and group exercise coordinator, which became group programs coordinator, and then it evolved into active communities coordinator. So this role was created due to, there's been several restructures over the time that I've been there, and several different, I guess, they kind of glimpse into what's missing. We have all these amazing, every council's the same, we have all these amazing departments and facilities and features and services and programs, but what is actually the link or the conduit between them, and what's creating those pathways sustainable pathways into each avenue and amazing service and program and out into the facilities that we've provided with the community. So that's where this role was developed from. They understood and they highlighted that this was a potential missing link. The whole purpose of the role is to, like I said, create a sustainable pathway into and out of any kind of facility or program that we have within Monash. And that the whole premise of it is to participate your way. That is the tagline of the movement. And that's what Active Communities Coordinator, which is my role, that's what it embodies. It's enabling people to, it doesn't mean that if you want to participate in an activity, you don't have to be physical about it. You just have to be part of the community by being there. That's what we want to, well, that's what I'm trying to achieve.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I want to rewind. What was it like leaving farm life, for use of a better term, into this urban setting with your personal development? Did it feel like a bit of a culture shock, or was it like perhaps the opposite? There was a bit of settling in moving out of that environment. There
was a culture shock because we're coming from, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Broken Hill, it's a very, very country town. We're talking, back then there was a population of 18,000 people. Going from there to a population of 3 million, 4 million.
Yeah.
And not only was it going from a country town to a capital city, but I actually ended up living right behind the Windsor Hotel in the heart of the CBD. So we're talking about 3 a.m. bottle drops of the nightclub in next door in the alleyway. So that was a lot to adjust to. But the other part of your question was, I don't believe it was that difficult because it enabled me to explore a different part of myself that I had shelved and not accepted due to my upbringing. Let's be honest, back in those days, being a gay man or being any kind of something that's not normal is not very accepted back then.
Absolutely, particularly when you're young and we're learning what is right and wrong, what is good and bad, what is accepted and not accepted. It's hard to see the nuances when things are so clear, and I'm sure it would have been challenging without that representation. And it's interesting that you now get to be, I think, that representation, just listening to your amazing achievements within the sporting sector and the positions that you've been able to obtain. And it sounds as though Monash have done a really good job in carving out a space for you and your skills, because what you provide maybe wasn't on a position description, but perhaps from previous conversations that we've had, it's really evolved by you saying, this is what I think our community needs. Let's write in that this is my job. Tell me, what does it mean to now be able to enact change within a community, and to be able to include a wide range of people that maybe felt like they didn't belong in sort of the fitness industry?
Yeah, look, my journey first started still not fully accepting who I was. And that's because of not only being my upbringing, but also the industry in itself is not overly accepting. The times have changed now, and it's an amazing movement that's happening in more recent times. Having the ability to have a wider impact has not only, I feel like, brought me closer to my actual goal of my actual reasoning around why I entered this industry, and that's to help people, but it's a lot closer to home for me because of my upbringing and of the opportunities that I didn't see that were available to me. I don't want to look back in bitterness because, you know, it has helped to shape the person or the man that I am today. And it's given me the understanding, the compassion and the empathy to do things for others that were not, I wasn't in a position to have done for me. So yeah, it is a very important thing for me to be able to be in this position to have a wider impact of change.
It's interesting, isn't it? I feel like I can relate to some of the things you're saying, in that there's pride that comes with being a trailblazer, the one that said yes, the one that stood up, the one that had the flag, the one that was openly gay first. But then you look back and you almost grieve, what if it was a slightly easier life? And what if someone had sort of said, hey, it's okay to be like this, or hey, we love you, like being like this is awesome. I think there's a reason why people, you know, perhaps like us, we're both the fitness professionals, then want to enact perhaps a slightly easier life for future generations. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do on perhaps a day-to-day setting within Monash, and what kind of communities you reach, and what your job sort of looks like?
So the tagline of the role is Active Communities Coordinator, which is about looking at minority groups or opportunities within each minority group to get them more physically active and increase their physical literacy. So however that looks on paper is very different to the actual day-to-day aspect of the role. So just before this, I had a meeting with Taran, who works for Switch. I believe that you and Taran have actually conversed before. She's about to start a workshop on creating leadership skills for women of the COLD community. So that's just one element. It's not just LGBTI, it's not just disability service, it's a wide range of people who have always been dealt a bad or a poor card in life.
Yeah, I think something you just touched on was really lovely there, which is just the intersectionality between working in the inclusive sector and working in sport. Do you think that sometimes we do marginalise things in silos, that there needs to be a program for girls and there needs to be a program for multicultural communities and a program for the LGBTIQ community? What can we do better to, I guess, be inclusive, target minority groups and their individual needs, but also not silo them apart from one another?
Look, I actually just had a very similar conversation to, like I was just saying before, Taran, previous to this, and she asked the same question: how do we target a group of people that we know need our services and would benefit from them without making them feel like this is just for them and they need to go do this over there? And I said, well, we've actually started to play with a few things within Monash, and we're not going to change the delivery or the premise or the reason or the purpose of the program. We're going to change the way we communicate. So in the way that we communicate should be inclusive of the community in which we're trying to reach. Yeah. Not that, for lack of a better word, we don't want to just emblazon it with this is for you and only for you. Others that don't identify as this you guys aren't included in the conversation or the activity or the program. So I believe that if you have a transparent and a wholehearted approach and you genuinely have a real value behind what you're trying to achieve out of a program, you shouldn't have to adapt or change the program unless, of course, it's not inclusive of people who aren't mobile and all of that. You shouldn't have to change the whole premise of the program. It's the way you communicate and the way you send and receive information about the program.
Yeah, and I think that targeted values-based messaging is definitely something I know I've listened to from Vic Health and sort of kind of grant briefings and whatnot from them, thinking about that holistic approach to health and wellbeing. And I think these days I do see a lot more council initiatives that are based around giving things a go, have a try. Have you thought about coming down to the gym? Does it sound scary? Well, come to our open day. Things like that I think really do reduce the barriers to participation. When it comes to the LGBTIQ community, being kind of a role model within the Monash space, what do you think it takes to build trust with this community, who may, like yourself, have perhaps had to hide a part of themselves for whatever period of time, for whatever reason, from whatever group? How do we build trust and engage them to turn up and have a go in sport?
I believe it starts with representation. If there isn't actual representation within your governing structure, within your onboarding process, if you don't see someone that a community you identify with being represented in the people who are running these events, then I don't believe that there is real, for my own opinion, I wouldn't have real trust that my values and my way of life is not fully accepted or understood. So I think it believes with, you need to actually be your community. You need to have representation of all the different walks of life, including the rainbow community.
Yeah, absolutely. And that sort of rolls in nicely to the Park Life program, which is how we connected recently. And for listeners or viewers who might not have heard of this, it's sort of a social sport program where people can turn up and play sport designed for the rainbow community and allies. We've trained up a range of community facilitators, so people who have said, yeah, I want to help out, and we've given them sort of some education in some soccer and some cricket training. What kind of made you get on board with this program when we spoke, and what impact do you think it can have within the Monash area?
Due to our, as you know, our conversations in the lead up to Park Life, the community, the rainbow community within Monash is not a very strong one. And over my entire period of being at Monash, I've never experienced a strong community within Monash. And that, I believe that's got a lot to do with that. And I know you've had experience in multiple other council settings due to the archaic way that they function and the archaic way they still process and all of that kind of stuff. It makes evolution very hard. But that's why I became quite involved with this program. I'm a lot more excited about this program based on the fact that in my experience as a leader in Monash, I did unfortunately have a staff member who just became a statistic, a gay man who was one of our group fitness instructors. He committed suicide, which was extremely terrible to have to go through. We, in an effort to try to provide some kind of support, we put on a master event for all of his participants and for his family. And it was a little bit too far and few between in terms of what I felt we could be doing, which was a lot more, and what we were allowed to do, because we were hemmed in with guidelines and risk and, all that sort of stuff. So I feel like it started from there. And when this presented itself, it was like, you know what, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to say, hey, we matter, we exist, and this is here for you and you're safe. Whatever happens, you will have a support network.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Unfortunately, it's all too common that through tragedy we enact wide-scale change like this. So thank you for the advocacy work that you do for the community. And I think it's hard when you're in a space that isn't championing this sort of cause. And you do really make a difference in your community, and I hope that this video can reach more people to share about the things that you do within the Monash sector, and also what we are able to do across Victoria and beyond as well. I just want to finish on a bit of a personal note. Tell us what sort of are your tips for lockdown? What are you doing to look after your mental health, your social health, and your sort of physical health? I like to ask it all kind of bundled up these days, because I don't think there's any separation between all of these things anymore. Yeah, what sort of is getting you through at the moment?
Well, it's regular check-ins. Obviously, we've all become accustomed to the virtual platform, FaceTiming and all of that stuff. It's regular check-ins with friends and family, predominantly my family who live over in Perth, and my mum she's been going through chemotherapy, and she's okay, she's doing great. But it's been a very difficult time for all parties included, because obviously we can't get over to her. Her support network is not there. So it's the regular check-ins. We do games night, during those check-ins. Obviously, there is wine included in games night, because you can't do it without wine, right? My partner and I have been trying new recipes and new foods. Tonight, I'm going to be making a Japanese pancake that I've never made before. We're both vegan, so it's all about trying different things. It's about trying to make sure that we are still maintaining our healthy lifestyle without allowing, I guess, things that are out of control to bring you down out of the things in your way of life.
I like the skill sharing and trying something new. I think that's definitely something I'm kind of motivated by at the moment, is giving new things a bit of a go. I want to learn how to do a handstand, for example. I have no idea how to do a handstand, anyone. Let's finish with one more question, just lastly, and thank you so much for your time. What would you say to someone listening who might be from the rainbow community, who's thinking of being a little bit more active, but is maybe a bit scared that they won't be accepted, or a bit nervous about where to even start? What advice would you give to that person?
There is more support out there than you think. It's not always going to be doom and gloom. I started at a time when, there wasn't a lot of support and there wasn't a lot of representation in the industry in itself. All you need to do is take the first step and start, because that's the hardest part, is taking the first step. You can never take that first step back.
Yeah, I love that sentiment. Well, that's such a lovely note to end on. Hayden, thank you so much for your time. Everyone, Hayden works in the Monash region, and we'll put down some contact details if you live in the Monash region and you'd like to get in touch about how to get active, or what options there are in the online settings as well. And you can always get in touch with me and the Proud to Play team as well. Look forward to seeing you again for another Together Tuesday next week. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for having me.